And now I'd like to invite Ambassador Minarelli to give us another view on Ukraine from the European Union.
Good morning, everybody. So much has been said that I will try to focus just on a few points. For us in the EU, there is no doubt that from an economic perspective, 2018 has been a good year. This is the first point. And I say that because I know that not everybody shares this view in the international community. On our side, we believe that things could have moved quicker, without any doubt, and I will come back to the reason why, in my view, we are not able to move ahead in the right direction quicker. But still, Ukraine has been moving in the right direction in 2018, thanks to the civil society they have, thanks to the business community they have, and thanks to their political leadership. Thanks to the sound fiscal and monetary policies which have been conducted over the last 3 to 4 years, there is no doubt that the macro-financial situation has stabilized. We should not consider that Ukraine could not backtrack, but still, we should look at the figures related to budget deficit, current account deficit, exchange rate of the hryvnia, inflation, and all these parameters show that there has been a macro-financial stabilization. Second point, structural reform. The economic growth reached 3.3%. This is more than in most EU member states. But this is not enough to create the jobs that Ukraine has to create if we want to stop this outflow of young people leaving the country, and which is a real disaster for this country. Which means that structural reform has to be implemented in a better way. Here again, I must say that in 2018, things have moved without any doubt for me in the right direction. Important decisions have been taken to deregulate the economy, to launch the long overdue privatization process, at least for small properties, to implement the reform of the education and the health sectors. Things have been moving in the right direction. But, unfortunately, we were expecting far more. And just to give you an example, all interlocutors have been speaking about the gas sector, transit of gas and blah, blah, blah. In the gas sectors, over the last 3 years, it's clear that decisive steps have been taken to integrate the electricity and gas market in the EU1. But we have been talking now for more than 2 years about the need to unbundle Naftogaz. And this does not happen. We have put on the table all the possible options to unbundle Naftogaz. And this does not happen. And this is a major obstacle to the integration of the Ukrainian gas market in the EU1. And this is one of the main weapons used by Russia today not to move ahead in the negotiation of a new gas transit contract. I was in Berlin in mid-July and in Brussels 1 month ago when we discussed with Russia how to renew the gas transit system, and both Novak and Miller laugh and say, but why do you say that we should apply EU rule to the gas market in Ukraine? Did they unbundle Naftogaz? No. And they know that. And why is it impossible to unbundle Naftogaz when, once again, the Prime Minister tells us that he wants them to unbundle Naftogaz, the President says the same thing, and we have put on the table all options. Because in this area, like in many others, the balance of power between those who try to keep the status quo in Ukraine and the reformers, this balance of power is not still right. Those who are fighting to preserve their vested interest are still strong enough to stop or derail the reform process. And on our side in the EU, we spend our time and energy together with the World Bank, with the IMF, with the Canadians and with others to back the reformers and to ensure that in the next few months, whatever the result of the election can be, the reformers will be stronger, the oligarchs will be weaker, and it will be possible to have a quicker reform process in Ukraine with, we hope, Oksana Markarova, Sasha, and a few others who will still be there to push their country in the right direction, whatever the result of the election is. Because we are convinced that whoever wins this election, there is a majority of the political class, a vast majority of the civil society, and a majority of the business community who wants to modernize this country along European standards. This is why we remain optimistic. We should not be too much frightened about the result of the election. Whoever wins, with the kind of people you have in Ukraine, they will not be able to take their country back. Ukraine will continue to move ahead in the right direction with the full support of the international community. And this is the main message I want to convey to the business community today. And I want to tell you as well that whoever wins, the EU will continue, while respecting, obviously, the sovereign choice of the people of Ukraine, we will continue to believe that it is in the interest of the Ukrainian people to implement the association agreement, and in particular the DCFTA. It has already been said that the EU integration of Ukraine is on the right way. It is true. 4 years ago, the EU absorbed 25% of Ukrainian export. Today, 42% of Ukraine export go to EU market. This is mainly due to the harmonization of the Ukrainian legislation with the Ukrainian one, to the fact that we have been able to remove progressively non-tariff barriers to trade, and this will continue whoever wins the election. So there is no doubt for us that Ukraine will be, in a few years' time, part of the EU single market. I don't know if and when Ukraine will join the EU, but I have little doubt that the Ukrainian economy will be part of the EU single market in a few years' time. And this is the most important thing, because when you are part of the main trade bloc in the world, you can be sure that those in the EU who are not yet sure that it would be the EU interest to have Ukraine as a member state will change their mind. And they will understand that Ukraine is not a liability, but an asset, a chance for the EU. So on our side, we will continue to push in this direction without any doubt. My last point, it has been mentioned, and I am happy by the President when he said, Ukraine has a problem as well, poverty. I have been insisting on that since I am here. If you want to have a sustainable reform process, you need a minimum of social cohesion, That's what we have seen in all transition countries. And this social cohesion does not exist today in Ukraine. The social inequalities are too big. You cannot have a sustainable reform process in a rich country where a majority of the population continue to struggle to survive. You need to reduce by all means the social inequalities to get a decent level of social cohesion. Social cohesion, rule of law, and it's done for Ukraine because, as I have been telling for years now, you have all assets to be one of the most prosperous countries on the European continent. Thank you.
Yeah.